The Caped Crusader is an enduring character in our culture, and seems to be here for good. Part of the reason Batman interested me so much as I grew up were his flaws, and I think it's worth asking if those things about the character still work in an age where most properties are gritty projections or edgy reimaginings. Bruce Wayne's fatal flaw is what makes him so compelling, and the way the writers have deconstructed the tropes of the comic book genre through his lens have always been fascinating to me. And with Batman back in the conversation, thanks to DC pressing new film, I couldn't resist dipping my toes back into Gotham and exploring DC's latest interpretation of the character. Batman Rebirth has seen some changes in the comics and reset the status quo, as is standard for a soft reboot of the universe. For better or worse, the first book takes a sharp left turn and introduces elements we've never really seen in a Batman comic before. It opens with an explosive action scene where Batman rides a crashing 747 through Gotham. The colouring and style are shades of Jim Lee, and the problem Batman must solve seems insurmountable, impossible even, something that makes me grin just thinking about it. In true Batman fashion, he doesn't miss a beat and leaps into the fray the minute things go bad. As he prepares to sacrifice himself to save hundreds of lives, the new Gotham twins appear to save the day. They have similar powers to Superman, sans laser eyes and ice breath, and have borrowed Batman's colours, an idea explored more in the third issue. The appearance of two superpowered saviors spells a crisis for Gotham's Dark Knight. Bruce begins to realize the futility of his fight to save the city and struggles with the notion of mentoring these new twins. This is a different relationship than he's had with Robins in the past, and even the likes of Dick Grayson as Nightwing. I think that's because these twins have powers. They pose a very real threat and a very real opportunity to do genuine good, and as we see in issue 2, they're not yet up to the task of saving everyone. The twins themselves do have great banter. Issue 3 is particularly solid in the dialogue department, and this scene where they fly away is very reminiscent of Whedon's Avengers repartee. There are only 4 issues out at the time of recording, but they all feel refreshing, yet strangely familiar. Bruce, however, is different. He's darker, but somehow not less fun, a balancing act the New 52 books really struggled with throughout their run. And while we don't get to see a lot of Bruce Wayne, he's mostly being Batman, the out-of-costume moments highlight a much more antisocial Bruce who is well into his Batman career. He seems to be more engaged with saving the city than being in it. The Rebirth books retread the Wayne Alley scene in a compelling way, borrowing a moment from the end of Arkham Knight with a frame-by-frame recreation of the murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne. This scene runs in parallel with an interesting monologue. Batman saves the family at the last second, a clever switch on the usual rehash of the scene where Thomas and Martha die. A particular line of the monologue stands out to me. It catches the theme of Batman Rebirth, this idea that Batman is as much a part of the city as he is the city. The line focuses on the idea of growing up in the smoke and dirt of Gotham. It's not that you get to like it. It's more like you sort of become it. You stop seeing it as something other and start seeing it as just more yourself. Lines like these demonstrate the writer's consciously trying to produce a more cerebral comic. Even if it isn't being deliberately high concept, it's much more inductive than previous explorations. The books do turn to their source material, but as with the Crime Alley scene, they do a good job of changing these ideas slightly, but staying respectful. The return of Matches Malone is a nice nod and not overly intrusive, and underscores this version of Batman who relies on equal parts instinct, detective work, and gadgets. One of the more interesting moments in these new books, and perhaps the very point of this whole story, is where Gotham, the hero, fails to stop a suicide bomber in a mirror of a Superman panel. The reversal of this moment is clever and more evidence of the difference between this Gotham City and the rest of the DC universe. In Rebirth, Gotham is poisoned. It destroys you, it destroys everything. Bruce is brutal, ruthless, and vulnerable in the ways that Batman should be. The books paint Gotham City as much more present, intensely personified by the Gotham twins. And to this end, I think the books satisfy all the conditions of a good Batman text. The action is punchy, decisions have interesting consequences, and the matter being examined feels natural to explore with a competent, focused Batman. Old villains make guest appearances but never feel disrespectful or unnecessary, and we have a solid, slowly unfolding conspiracy. Batman is enduring. The myth and the stories endure because we want to save and be saved. Rebirth might walk in the footprints of New 52 and all that came before, but it finds a way to change the trend and ultimately makes its own mark. Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks as always to the people that support us on Patreon throughout our entire DCM Works network. And big thanks to Daniel Larson, who does the music for these. You can find him and the links to his stuff in the show notes down below if you want to purchase any of his music. Really appreciate any support you give him as well. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.